Well, folks, we're visiting today with Alex Weld. She is the executive director for Generation West Virginia. Alex, thanks for being on the show today.
Jim, I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for being here and driving over this morning. I look forward to learning more about what you do.
I'm so excited to share with you.
Yeah, me too.
Positively West Virginia is powered by Breezeline high-speed fiber internet and sponsored by Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Kia of Morgantown, and Storymaker. With the help of these sponsors, we are able to share the positive business stories of West Virginians, including the one featured in today's episode.
All right, Alex, tell us about what you do at Generation West Virginia.
So we're a statewide nonprofit. We work in all 55 counties. And really our focus is to support young adults in finding career pathways in West Virginia. For years in West Virginia, we've heard that if you want to be successful, you have to leave. And that's not true. That is not true. There are so many pathways to success, and we are helping young people find those pathways, and we're also helping to build those pathways along with our employer partners.
I love it. That's a bold mission and very important work. What age group, when you talk about young people, what is the age group?
It really, truly, there's no one we would not work with. We've worked with people much older than kind of your standard young age, but our kind of sweet spot is that 18 to 40 range. So anyone, sometimes people that are kind of like out of high school or coming out of college, we're helping them navigate that first career. And then a lot of people who are kind of trying to figure out, how do I sustain my family with the path I've taken? What does retraining look like? And we support them in that way.
Yeah. What's the most common thing you see, Alex?
We actually see a lot of people graduating from college and cannot find a family-sustaining, life-sustaining job. For a lot of reasons, but we do see people that are really underemployed in West Virginia. The opportunity isn't where they are, or they don't have the resources to get that opportunity. So we do a lot of career coaching and mentorship and like leadership development work to help people get there.
Is it a case where people feel stuck almost? Is that kind of the thing that you're seeing?
I would say there's some of that. I mean, I think that when we're young and we're trying to figure it out, it might, you're like kind of in school and you're trying to figure out what your path is. And you're maybe not necessarily thinking about like, how do you get your first job, right? That feels far away when you're in college. You're just kind of trying to make it through the day to day. And oftentimes, I know when I was in school, I neglected the career services office. I don't know. I didn't think I needed to really think about that. And so we know that is something that we see a lot of young people just not being ready for an interview or not having the support they need or even being able to kind of look at the people around them. So many of us have parents who didn't go to college, kind of graduated high school and went into that blue collar job. And so how do we help young people figure out how to be in these new environments and advocate for themselves?
And today's workplace is different than it was even like 10 years ago or 5 years ago.
Oh, it's changing rapidly, right? Remote work, the expansion of like just digital skills and broadband and what that's doing for communities around the country. The work dynamics have shifted a lot. And not only is that something for young people to keep up with, it's something that on the other side, employers are really struggling with too.
I think so. Yeah. Wow. That's important work that you're doing. So thanks for sharing that. How did you get started in this?
Well, my background is communications. I must just love to tell stories.
You're a great communicator. That makes sense.
So I did that for a while and worked for a local TV station up in the northern part of the state, and just had this moment where I realized that there are a lot of important stories in West Virginia that I think need to be lifted up, and I didn't have the opportunity to do that in my current role back then, and so. I found the nonprofit world through an organization called Wheeling Heritage, which is in Wheeling, of course, and it's focused on community revitalization through preservation. And so a lot of really cool downtown work, and just started to see, all the amazing things that people are doing to make their communities better.
It's amazing.
And so really just loved that opportunity, and the role at Generation West Virginia opened 4 years ago now, and it was a hard, I thought, oh, geez, I love what I'm doing now. But this has been such an incredible opportunity to kind of think more statewide about where are the opportunities for young people? How do we lift those up? How do we bring them to the right people? Yeah.
I like that a lot. So you're based personally out of Brooke County, right? are you from West Virginia? What part of West Virginia?
I'm from Wellsburg,
Wellsburg, okay,
little Wellsburg
great.
in Brooke County. Yeah,
that's
born
amazing.
and raised. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does it feel like being able to do this important work right from where you're from?
Yeah, it is the greatest honor ever to be able to do this work.
Yeah.
I always think about this story of, so up in the Northern Panhandle, right, Weirton Steel was this huge, the largest employer in the state for decades.
Sure.
And now is a tiny shop that's kind of barely operational. But and I think about the shift in the types of jobs that were available and what that did to my small town. And I hear my parents, talk about how, there was a movie theater on this block and a this on this block, and now it's a much different place, right? Our communities are much different.
Some challenges.
And, and you think that to be successful, that means you have to go where success is, where there are a lot of things happening, and I think shifting that mentality a little bit and being able to say, look, like that story will be different now. My town story will never be what it was in the 50s,
Right.
But there is still real opportunity there. It's just different, and we have to help people see that.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. My upbringing, I grew up in a little town called Hopewell Township, Pennsylvania, just outside of Pittsburgh, and just across the river was, Jones and Laughlin Steel, J&L Steel, one of the largest steel producers in the country at the time, and so I can resonate with that. I was too young to know what Weirton Steel was, but I knew J&L, and you drive by that plant now, and it's completely leveled. I mean, there's no buildings. It's just empty riverbank, flat land right on the river, but at one time very prized real estate. But that whole shift of the steel industry overseas decimated a lot of small towns.
Yeah, and it's
not just in West Virginia.
No, not at all, right? I mean, and you just think of that shift in coal and steel and all of these big industries. And so now in Weirton, there's this really interesting company called Form Energy that is on part of the former Weirton Steel site. And first of all, that is just remarkable to me. When you look at the before and after of that place, it's just this futuristic, beautiful building where the BOP once stood. So it's really cool. But what is fascinating to me is the different type of job that's available there. So there are engineering jobs there, and really skilled, like master's level jobs, PhD level jobs. There are plenty of like more hourly roles too, but a lot of the jobs are kind of more higher paying and more skilled jobs. And it's such an interesting shift that we need to be kind of this all of the above. We can't be a one-trick pony, right? We can't just like come out of high school and go work on the line or in the mill. And so the building itself is so emblematic, I think, of the futuristic lens we need to be thinking about the workforce.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for painting that picture. So we talked a little bit about, what inspired you to get in to this work. Just talk a little bit specifically about like what Generation West Virginia does. Like, do you have programs? Do you have conferences? What do you do?
Yeah. So we have a handful of core programming. Really, our work focuses around job training, job placement, and job growth and advancement. And so we have a job training program that is called New Force, and it is about the future of work really with a technology lens. So we did software development training for years. We've recently switched to data analytics training to help people get roles in this really growing industry around the state.
Important,
And then the Career Connector program is our job placement program. So the program that we're really working with people from all walks of life, but really our focus right now is people coming out of college and really struggling to find that first job. And on the flip side, working with employers. So we have this job board where we're posting jobs. We're helping employers make their job descriptions stronger and clearer. And we're even helping them with hiring. We'll do candidate recruitment. And we're helping the candidates on the other side with career coaching and getting ready and interview prep and just the things that they might need support in. So just kind of really bridging, really being that career connector.
Skills,
And our fellowship program is all about supporting young adults in professional growth. So we take up to 30 people every year to go through this annual program. And I just wish I was 25 again to go through this program, but it's really for someone in the first few years of their career. And we always will say to a company, do you have someone in your company that you see really growing here and you really want to keep, but they just need a little bit more support to do that? And everyone says yes. Everyone's like, I know just the person. And so this program, we every session is built around professional skills development. So, managing up, or how to create an effective agenda, all these like really tangible things. But also we're helping people see different parts of West Virginia they may never have seen, and hear from people they may never have met, to give them a really well-rounded understanding of
what's
West Virginia.
What's that program called?
The Generation West Virginia Fellowship.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back.
Your prescriptions are designed to keep you healthy, active, full of life. At Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're making vital medicine more affordable. Because when your prescriptions don't cost an arm and a leg, you can use those limbs for something more meaningful. Because life. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, West Virginia.
Folks, we're visiting once again with Alex Weld. She's the Executive Director for Generation West Virginia. Alex, as far as the geographic reach, you're based in Brooke County. Who do you reach? Like, who do you help? And do you serve all of the state of West Virginia? And how does that look?
Yeah, we do. So my staff is all over the state. We're fully remote. We all work from home or in various co-working places. It's great. It's great. And so staff all over. Our programs go all over. So for instance, our New Force program, that's a virtual training program. It's full time. People come online and are working in a Zoom classroom. It used to be in Huntington, but we shifted it during COVID to remote. And we realized, oh my gosh, we can support so many more people.
Yeah. That's great.
The fellowship program goes all over the state. And likewise, we have a broadband program. We're doing a lot of broadband work with communities. So we're kind of traveling all over the state doing community meetings there.
Yeah, that's great. So anybody, how do people get plugged in, I guess is the question.
Yeah, so generationwv.org is our website. And I think the best way would probably be to follow us on social media or sign up for our, we do like a monthly newsletter.
Be part of the community.
Yeah. And we, there are all kinds of events or things we have going on that people can tap into, whether it's being a part of the fellowship program or if they're kind of just like passively trying to figure out what types of jobs are out there. We share those regularly.
Yeah, that's great. What's one thing that you're most excited about right now?
So, almost less than a week from today, on May 8th, we have a conference. Really, we've done a lot of events over the years, and it kind of hit me last year that the most important part of that convening, whatever convening it is, it's before it starts, where all these people are getting together and talking kind of pre-program. And you realize that when you get a lot of really passionate people that are focused on the future of West Virginia together in a room, ideas are everywhere and connections to be made are everywhere. And so we said, wait, instead of having a dinner or we just need to bottle this, and we need to bring this to more people. And so it's called Pathways to Progress. And the entire idea around this conference is how do we put all the people that are really passionate about the future of work in West Virginia in one room and elevate the amazing things that are happening so those stories can support the other people in the room. So we have a session, Microsoft's coming in and doing a session on the future of the workforce with AI in mind. And what does that look like in West Virginia? How can we be prepared?
So important.
And we have some companies that are speaking that are already non-tech companies that are already really tapping into AI. So other companies in the room can start to be prepared for that. We have the Secretary of Commerce coming in and talking about, what are all of the avenues for funding? There are so many resources at the state level for employers to tap into for hiring and employee training and growth. And they're at local workforce offices, those funds just exist that so many people don't know how to tap into. Likewise, at the Higher Education Policy Commission. So we have folks from both sides there coming in and talking, really just, I think, bringing important resources and important tangible learning opportunities to everybody kind of in the workforce ecosystem, employers, job seekers, and also kind of people like us that are in these intermediaries in the workforce system.
Yeah. So we know it's May 8th, 2025.
Yes.
Where is it?
It is in Charleston. That's important. Good
Charleston,
question.
West Virginia.
In Charleston at the Marriott Town Center. It's a full day thing, 9 to 5.
That's great.
Yeah.
You mentioned like the meeting before the meeting, and I found that is so true. Anytime you have a networking event or some sort of a conference, it's that one-to-one interaction. And you mentioned earlier, remote work and how that kind of changed things. But I'm just a big believer in getting together face-to-face in community with others that are like-minded. I mean, there's just some really good energy that happens, right?
Yeah.
And,
there's absolutely, I think this, actually someone at the conference will be Danny Twilley from WVU.
Oh, I know Danny. He's great.
He's great.
Awesome. I just saw him last week.
He'll be speaking at the conference.
Outdoor economy.
Yes, right. And, their whole focus is remote work and hybrid work. And so he'll be speaking a lot about kind of the pros and cons, right? That there are really amazing pros to remote and hybrid work, but you can't always replace that in-person piece of the work. So how do you balance the two?
Yeah. Again, going back to like the core function of Generation West Virginia and helping these young people like career growth and all these things, I find it like to be 25 again, okay, to use what you said a few minutes ago, it would be daunting on one hand. It's like the most amazing time to be alive, but thinking about like how if you're sitting at home, maybe even in an apartment or something like that, and you're isolated and you're trying to, navigate your career. How do you get seen, or how are you heard in a world where, you're not having lunch in the break room with your boss or getting a cup of coffee at how do you like build those relationships honestly without that physical like being in proximity with somebody? So maybe that's a question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think it's something we grapple with every day. Again, it's like that you balance the pros and cons. So for us as a remote organization, we do our best to get together as much as we can. Even our fellowship program, like a lot of those impactful pieces of the program couldn't happen unless everyone was in the room together. And so a lot of that has to be a part of that. And how do you balance giving people like maybe the autonomy or the opportunity to live where they want to live in the state? To me, I feel like we have this phenomenal staff because we weren't geographically bound by, you have to live in this town to work for us. You can work anywhere in the state, live anywhere in the state. So we have, to me, I think just an incredible talent pool to choose from.
Yeah, I love that. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back. Stay connected with an unbeatable deal from Breezeline. Voted best in Mountaineer Country for their reliable, high-speed fiber internet for a low cost, Breezeline is the best gig in town. Here at InnerAction Media, we rely on high-speed internet every single day to ensure we can deliver the best content possible for our clients and when we publish Positively West Virginia each week. That's why we use Breezeline. It's affordable, fast, and they're great people as well. Learn more about Breezeline's internet, TV, and mobile options at breezeline.com. Folks, we're visiting once again with Alex Weld. She's the executive director for Generation West Virginia. Alex, let's jump back into it. One of the things that I'm listening to, you're doing incredible work throughout the state of West Virginia. This conference coming up next week. How are you funded? How does this whole thing operate?
Yeah. So there are, I think, some institutions and entities that have been supportive from the jump. Organizations like the Benedum Foundation and some others, Just Transition Fund, that I think see the importance of making sure that rural communities can thrive. And that can't happen without young people being a part of those communities. And young people can't be in those communities without a job and without a way to sustain their lives. And so I think we've had great success there long term. And then a lot of our work is funded. We have like EDA dollars, the federal dollars, ARC, the Appalachian Regional Commission, and some others.
Lots of different entities and lots of pools.
That's right.
Helping things come together.
And then other ways like our Career Connector program, the job board and everything like that is free. But sometimes an employer will say to us, look, I just don't have the capacity to find someone for this role. Can you help me out? And so we'll contract with them to do job placement.
Oh, that's great.
And so there is a small nonprofit sized fee for service there, but something that is helping us sustain the work.
So you've been with Generation West Virginia for 4 years. What's the most interesting thing you've been a part of so far?
Oh my goodness. Well,
I
can tell you, I can tell you the most impactful thing of recent memory was our fellowship graduation last December. We were at the Culture Center in Charleston. And, these 30 young people had just gone through an entire year together of exploring different parts of the state and growing together and learning from each other, and really this like impactful cohort model. And at graduation, we have 2 fellows speak every year. And one of the fellows who got up and spoke said, I'll be honest, I kind of signed up for this because I thought it'd be good for my resume. Maybe I'd meet some people. It might be good for, my business to get the word out. And he said, that's not what this is. And he had tears in his eyes and just said, like, this to me has transformed how I think about where I'm going in my life, what I'll do, why West Virginia matters to me, why the people in this room matter, and that there are other young people in the state that feel like he does. And he doesn't have to feel silly about that. He doesn't have to feel like, oh, it's just like you can live wherever, you don't need to be that tied to where you are. But he said, it's kind of who I am, right? And I want to be able to grow here. And that story to me, I'm getting a little choked up just thinking about it, but
it's powerful.
It's something that I think so many West Virginians think about and are just like, oh, that struggle to stay feeling. And I think to hear someone say, this program reaffirmed for me why I'm here, is so amazing. It gives me goosebumps.
Yeah. It's interesting. You can be from West Virginia and you can go off to Austin, Texas, or Charlotte, North Carolina, or Chicago, Illinois, and you can have a pretty good career, get a good job, good paying, have the family, the home, and the all the trappings of success or whatever. But in West Virginia, if young people can stay here and build a career here, or maybe start a business, that's what I'm an advocate of, entrepreneurship and starting something. Man, you can have such an impact. Whereas in those big cities, you're just a number, and you really can't have significance. What I mean by significance is like making a difference. It's hard to do in those big communities, but here in West Virginia, there's this potential everywhere.
That is one of my favorite things about West Virginia.
Yeah.
I community development and economic development are really important to me. And living in a small town, it's been, I don't want to say easy, but it's been possible to really make impactful change, be on boards, be involved in things, write grants for the city, small things like that, that really cool. Add up. I have a friend who's from the Pittsburgh area, moved to Wheeling, and that was the first time I realized how different it was for people outside of West Virginia. She was like, oh my gosh, I came here and I'm on the planning commission and I'm on the arts and culture commission and I'm sitting down with the mayor. And she's like, that's not how it is in Pittsburgh,
right. Yeah, in the big city. I mean, I hate to say it like that because I've never lived there, but I know a lot of people who have. And it just feels like there's so much more opportunity to have that significance. There is here in West Virginia. And, I guess that's part of my question, with regard to Generation West Virginia, career readiness and workforce development, I guess, and just getting people, on the path to success. How big of a play does entrepreneurship and saying, hey, maybe you could buy a business, or so many businesses close because they don't have somebody to buy it or take, they can't, it's not a transition like generational, and so they close, and it's like those jobs are gone, that service is gone, that name is gone. The tax revenue's gone. That breaks my heart, So I'm trying to always encourage people, like, start a business, buy a business, whatever. But there's opportunity there.
That to me is such a cornerstone of community, right? Like entrepreneurship is what drives community in my mind.
Absolutely.
And so when you think about investing or like in your community or being a part of your community, people don't want to live in a place where entrepreneurship doesn't exist, right? There's nothing there. Without small town, the mom and pop shops and the local businesses, there is no community. And so I think that is, a tangential piece of the work we do is like, how do we support people in being active members in their community, supporting small businesses, driving that growth. And we've had many entrepreneurs that we've worked with, but it is an interesting thing that you bring up that we see that a lot. There was a shoe repair shop in Wheeling that was amazing. And we worked with him for quite a while. This is in a previous role. He said, I'm really trying to find someone to take over this business, right? And he was it was very popular, but it was really hard work. He needed some like updating on his business plan and everything. It's just a little bit outdated. And he could not find someone to take over that business. And so I think there is a bit of a missing gap that so many people are working to fill, right? we were just talking about Tara St. Clair and entrepreneurship ecosystem. There's so many people that see the value, but without shops like that, right? Where is your community?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, this is, again, anecdotal evidence, but I feel like a lot of it is just with vision, like especially in some of the rural communities. Even here in Morgantown, we have some rural areas in Montague County. And I knew being able to share like job shadowing for these high school kids, or saying like, have you ever thought about this? I know that, I wouldn't be in my industry, which is advertising and marketing, if it wasn't just for one chance conversation with a fellow who was retired from WVU, saw me walking on campus and said, "You look like you're lost." And next thing you know, I'm enrolled in journalism school, because I hadn't really had any vision of like what could be, and I feel like that's part of what we do at the show, is like to just talk about these kinds of subjects to get people thinking about like, I never really thought about starting a business. I wonder what that looks like.
Yeah, there's so much of that, I think, in that we see, right, and all people from all walks of life kind of get in their day to day, right, keep their head down.
That's right.
And I think there are so many stories that once you show people those stories, it opens their eyes. Yeah. And whether it's to a new profession or to a new way of thinking.
Yeah. And so 100% believe that to be true. I mean, and I call it visioning, but maybe it's more than that. It's just being exposed to different ideas and thoughts and possibilities. That's my word of the year this year is possibilities, because I just feel like there's so many, there's so many. And I think part of it is also, once I always say without a clear vision, it's almost impossible to tell an opportunity from a distraction. So having that vision, I think, is so important, because then you go, okay, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to go. Now let's figure out who I need to help me get there. Be in proximity with people that have done it, or want to go that way, or want to help you.
Yeah, I think that we have to be solution minded, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Our fellows, every year we make sure we take them down to Matewan in Williamson area. And I think a lot of folks don't get down to that part of the state unless you're from that region of the state.
Right.
And they meet with Dino Beckett, who was a founder of Williamson Health, because there was a huge healthcare disparity. And so he said, oh my gosh, like we need to bring healthcare to this region of the state, and did it. And founded a nonprofit hospital, and is providing critical services to the community. And I think stories like that you see a real need, and then you work backwards from that, and helping people kind of have that solution mindset.
I call it falling in love with the problem.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And a lot of people, that start businesses have this great solution, but they don't think like, what are they actually solving for? But so you see those too.
Oh, right. And you have to pivot all the time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And listening to the marketplace, and in that case that you just mentioned, finding a need, falling in love with the problem, and coming up with a solution.
I love that. When we think about, I will give you the way back story of Generation West Virginia. When it started back in 2007, it was an opportunity for local chambers of commerce to have young professional groups that had kind of a main point person. So it was just, and not just, networking is really important, but it was a kind of a networking group. And as years progressed, it kind of became like, in order for people, the goal was always the same, right? But in order for people to be able to stay and grow and thrive, they needed community. In order to be able to have community, they needed to be able to sustain their families. They needed to have jobs. And then in order to be able to have these jobs, they needed, the support to find the job. And so our work really has kind of shifted around that same problem, and how do we provide a solution to it? And it will always change, I think, right? As we're trying to support more people and being able to stay if they want to stay. Yeah,
I think that's great. Alex, you're a leader in the community. You're a leader in Brooke County. You're a leader in West Virginia, for sure. Anytime I have a leader sitting across from me, I like to ask a leadership question just to get your thoughts. And, as you think about being out in the world today, what do you think is one of the key attributes for being a successful leader in business right now?
I really do think that it is taking the blinders off from being dead set on where you're going, and really thinking about, if you have a point B that you're trying to get to, the way you're trying to get there might not be the right way, and it might not be the best way.
Yeah.
Other people may have way better ideas on how to get there.
Yes.
And the strengths finder assessment. My top strength is input. Like I want to hear everyone's perspective. I want to understand what's been done in the past. Did it work? Why not? To be able to kind of think toward where we're going. So to me, it's always really get a clear assessment of the situation before you decide how you're going to get there. Build the right team, build the right strategy. Do that at the front end before you start working.
And that's really a maturity level of thinking, really, because I think especially young people, they think like, I've got the idea. I know the way to go, and we're going this way. And I do think you've hit on something very important right there, because I just know in my organization, if we just did everything that I want to do, we'd fail.
Right.
And that's why having great people around you, we hear it all the time, surround yourself with great people.
That's right.
But people who are not just idea people, but they're critical idea thinkers. They're critical thinkers in terms of their ideas, right? That's what I'm trying to say. In other words, they think they understand where you're trying to go, and they say, hey, how about this?
Yep.
You go, 100%, that's money, right? As opposed to, my way or the highway. And so I think you bring up a great point, and I appreciate you sharing that. It's very important and very insightful. So thank you.
Oh yeah, thanks for asking.
Absolutely. What's one piece of advice, Alex, you would give to somebody here in West Virginia that might be struggling to find their career path, maybe their way, like trying to find a way to provide for their family?
Well, first of all, I think that there's this thing we do that, and I don't know if we all do this, but I know many people do. They might feel guilty if they leave, right? We have this weird thing that like, oh no, we're supposed to try to figure it out here. And I am a firm believer that if opportunity exists elsewhere, that's okay. No one should feel kind of like they're a bad West Virginian if they don't stay in West Virginia. I think that everyone should go where they are called. And I think that if you want to stay, networks are so important, right? So tap into the networks. Indeed is probably not going to be where you're going to find your opportunity. I mean, it might be, which is great. I mean, of course it happens, but there will be better opportunity in West Virginia through networks because so many people, I mean, geez, some people don't even put their jobs online, they're just,
right.
I think work your network, be in the community, be visible. And there are so many entities that are there to help you, no matter where you are, no matter what type of career you want, right? We have a robust nonprofit system in West Virginia.
Absolutely, yeah.
We have great supports at the state level as well. And I think just don't be scared to raise your hand and say like, hey, help me navigate this.
Yeah, you don't have to go alone.
That's right.
And I think that's very important. And I love what you said too about we're not going to think bad of you if you leave. And
right.
A lot of times what I've seen, especially doing this show since 2017, a lot of people will leave the state and they say, you know what, I'm coming back.
That's right.
I've seen what's out there, and maybe they start a business, they bring it back to West Virginia, and there's this tremendous opportunity. And I think that there's, our state has so much, we have challenges just like anybody does, every state has challenges, but I feel like the opportunities are really strong here. So yeah, go leave, but come back.
Right. I mean, and honestly, there are times when maybe, what you want to do, there is not a robust industry for that here.
Yeah.
But I just talked to someone on the phone yesterday. He works at LG Nova, and he said, yeah, I got an engineering degree years ago. Couldn't find a job here. Now I'm back, right? LG Nova came to West Virginia. He got a job at LG Nova, and is
cool.
now helping other people grow.
Yeah, timing is right. Everything. That's very cool. Alex, we've covered a lot in this interview. Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you think folks might be interested, either about Alex Weld or Generation West Virginia?
No, I think we covered it all. I mean, I think just if there's any way that we can be supportive of, someone that's starting a company or has a company, or a young person who's trying to navigate it.
Yeah.
We've all been there. We have an entire team that is what we do every single day, is help people navigate these challenges. So we're here to help. And we are such a partnership-driven organization too. So if you're someone in a community and you want to be a partner in some way, we would love to talk about that, because I think partnerships are really the way forward.
Yeah. I think so too.
In West Virginia,
Yeah, that's good stuff. I want to give you an opportunity to plug your conference one more time.
Thanks. It is May 8th. It's called Pathways to Progress. It's in Charleston, and you can find more information online. Tickets are on sale now, and we'd love to have you join us.
Yeah. How much are tickets?
They're $155 full price, but I will share with all these listeners here that if someone is interested in attending and there's a barrier to payment, we are happy to sit down and try to find a path forward.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
well, we want everybody to be able to benefit.
I think that's awesome. And I think, the conference is amazing. It sounds great. I wish you very much luck with that, and I know it's going to help a lot of people. Our guest once again today is Alex Weld. She's the Executive Director for Generation West Virginia. Alex, it's been an honor to have you on the program. I think you're a great example of being positive in West Virginia, and I think what you're doing is really great, and I want to encourage you and your whole team to keep up the great work.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Folks, that's a wrap on another episode of Positively West Virginia. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on the show, drop us a line on our website at positivelywv.com. Of course, we appreciate your comments, your suggestions, and sharing these stories of great things happening in West Virginia, just like Alex Weld and Generation West Virginia. So please continue to do that as well. It really helps us to get the word out there. On behalf of our entire Positively West Virginia team, including our producer, Mr. Jimmy Murray, behind the controls. Jimmy, thank you. I'm your host, Jim Matuga. Stay positive, West Virginia.
We'd like to thank our partners, Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Kia of Morgantown, InnerAction Media, Storymaker, and our studio sponsor, Breezeline, for helping to share these positive stories. If you'd like to become a sponsor of the Positively West Virginia podcast, visit positivelywv.com/sponsor.